through it, one of the things that disturbed me was it read, resident Cindy Burrill verbally attacked President Ackley for the small budget. I think that's inflammatory, and I think that saying attacked is a little bit too strident. And I would ask that that be changed to reflect that it was a criticism or a rebuke, but not an attack. I mean, attack is too strong of a word, and I don't think, I mean, I was there, and yes, Cindy stood up, and she was very strident in what she had to say, but she in no way attacked. So I would request that that be changed to use a word that's a little less inflammatory.
What would you consider being an attack?
An attack to me is something that is vicious, and that to me was not vicious. So, and I think attack has that. I mean, if you look it up in the dictionary or in a thesaurus or anything else, you'll see that it has a much stronger connotation. And so, you know, I just don't think, because I read through, there were other people that stood up and had strong comments as well, but none of them were accused of attacking me verbally. And so I just think...
How do you want it modified?
Excuse me?
How do you want it modified?
You can put criticized, rebuked. Thank you.
I also had a request to modify the last paragraph where to delete the word the original Poquonnock Bridge Fire Department Chief and change it to a previous Poquonnock Bridge Fire Department Chief, and also to at the end of the first sentence where it says for their hard work, to continue it to state and presented an award to Chief Page, and delete the third sentence.
Any other changes? And ask for motion to accept the amended minutes.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are accepted.
I'd like to make a motion to accept this the Board of Directors special meeting minutes of July 15th.
Second. Any comments on those minutes? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes will also be accepted. Remarks from visitors. Any remarks from visitors? Yes, ma'am.
Cindy Burrell, St. Joseph Court. First, I'd like to say that the listings for meetings on the Groton Town website and the day is still reporting that these meetings are at the firehouse. And if they're going to continue to be here, whoever's in charge of that should take care of changing that. It is public meetings and people need to know where to come. So please update this information so the public is informed. Okay, according to the minutes of last month's meeting, I verbally attacked President Ackley, and the reason I investigated the budget was because I am married to a firefighter. To clear that up, I stated I investigated the budget because I am a taxpayer. The situation came to my attention because I'm married to a firefighter. As to the verbal attack, call it what you want. I have the right to say what I think of the performance of elected officials who are spending my money. I am sick and tired of hearing about how this mess is all caused by the greedy firefighters and their families. I'm sick and tired of hearing the scare tactics recited over and over that the union contract has caused the district to consider bankruptcy. The newspaper this morning quoted Alan Ackley as saying he wasn't sure of the exact cost of the new contract, but it adds a few $100,000 a year. That may be true and it may not, as Mr. Ackley has never let facts stop him from pulling random and unsubstantiated numbers out of his hat. More than likely that cost would be over the life of the 10-year contract. He was quoted as saying the fire alarm system maintenance costs the district more than $100,000 a year. Not true, it costs half that. Last month, he was quoted as saying the hydrant rental payments were up to date, and then tried to prevent the chief's report from being read out loud at the meeting, where it was reported that they still owed almost $100,000. And for example, the $3.5 million budget number that he proposed at the annual meeting and that his supporters passed with no explanation or discussion. So if there isn't enough money in the budget and the board feels they have to discuss bankruptcy, it is Mr. Ackley's fault and his fault alone. I'm sick and tired of hearing the facts twisted by certain board members to suit their purposes. Mr. Ackley states in this morning's paper that he has 11 people trained and willing to be volunteers. Maybe people the district trained 20 years ago? Are these people physically able to do the job? Maybe as fire police. Is the Poquonnock Bridge Volunteer Fire Company #1, the company who owns the building at 13 Fort Hill Road, backing them? Last I heard, they don't support what you're trying to do. Mr. Ackley wants to look into closing the Fort Hill Firehouse. The estimated savings would be $40,000 and an increase in response time of 3 to 4 minutes. Since you decided last month to use last year's numbers rather than bother to work out a new budget, you're already $1 million short, so $40,000 savings is a drop in the bucket and a lot to pay for what we will lose. 3 to 4 minutes increase in response time means the difference between my house sustaining some smoke and fire damage or burning to the ground. And Mr. Ackley, I don't know how smart you think you are, but that goes for your house too.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the, yes, ma'am?
When we voted on the
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mary Ellen French, I own property at 108 B Street. When we voted at the June meeting, we voted to give the board permission to borrow money if needed. I think talking about bankruptcy when the budget was passed at a ridiculously low figure and you have authorization to borrow money is premature and not in the best interest of the town and the people who live in this fire district.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
My name is Nikki Breschen, 2266 Gold Star Highway, Mystic, and I'll give you a copy of my comments.
Well, you don't live in this district, right?
No, I do not.
I don't think you have the right to comment. You don't have the right to comment. Really.
I would respectfully disagree with you that I do not have the right to comment. There is nothing in state statutes, which is what governs you, which prohibits non-residents from speaking. To the Poquonnock Bridge Fire District Board, as reported in today's article in The Day, the board is actively considering bankruptcy for the Poquonnock Bridge Fire District, but you don't know what your legal options are. I suspect that when you engage an attorney and truly listen to what he or she has to say, you will find that your legal options are limited. You will find that under any scenario that you have imagined, you will not be allowed to walk away from your fiduciary responsibilities. Further, the taxpayers of the fire district will still be liable to fund the legal commitments that you have made, but that you have refused to honor. The sooner the board recognizes this fact, and the sooner the district taxpayers recognize that they are financially responsible for your negligence, the sooner rational and responsible people can take over and begin to correct the district's problems. If you truly had any intention of responsibly operating a fire district, you would have a plan. You would consider any number of options, such as seeking more money from the taxpayers, after all they will pay eventually, or asking the town to take over the district, or asking other fire districts to take over the district. I recommend that you abandon your plans to dismantle the fire alarm system, close Fort Hill Station, and lay off firefighters. These efforts are artificial, and they will systematically destroy the foundation of the district. These proposals will not close the funding gap that you have created, and they will ultimately cost district taxpayers even more in hidden costs and legal fees. Since bankruptcy is the only logical conclusion of your actions, I recommend that you run the district as it is, with no changes, and that you respect and honor the municipal prohibited practice decision when it comes down. Then, when the day comes that there is no more money, step aside and let responsible people take over. Better yet, consider stepping aside now, since you have intentionally created the problem and you clearly have no desire to be part of a solution.
Any other comments? Mike?
Yeah, I know everybody up there, and I hope I don't piss anybody off.
Mike Poquonnock?
Mike the Hornet, 441 Hazelnut Hill Road. I've been following this whole thing, and I just can't believe that this happened in 1 year. I know Peter Lake knows who's on, Alan, and I don't want to put a blame on anybody. This just did not happen this year. It's been ongoing. Did we not raise the taxes a little bit each year to bring us up to date? Is our attorney, is he up to date on this stuff, or is he just somebody that we've had for 20 years? I mean, this fire, I look around the state, what fire department's going bankrupt? I mean, and like I say, I don't want to make anybody mad or anything, but this just didn't happen overnight. This has happened over the past 10 years. Did we not raise the taxes a little bit each year to make it so you didn't have to go up that 6 or 8% or whatever it was to fill the gap? I'm not in agreement with a 10-year contract for the firemen. I'm a union person myself. We go a 3-year contract. But that's what happened. But I don't think that's going to run you. That's not going to put you in bankruptcy this year. Okay? Fire response. Well, medically, when my parents were alive, I had to have them. I've had a chimney fire or two. Well, they've come. They're like that. Well, and you look at your taxes in the town. Look at they're paving that road over there behind I forget. Tollgate. The town's been there for a month paving that road, digging it up. Has anybody said anything about that? No. And that's town workers. If you had a contractor come in and do that job, it would have been done in about 2 weeks. Okay? Nobody says nothing about that. Okay? Okay. Third question is, how much have we paid our attorney? Okay? To this date, because I know every time when I was on the RTM, if we had a call and we wanted to talk to somebody, every time we called that attorney, it cost money. Okay? So what is the attorney's fee? Is that running us bankrupt? Calling that attorney every hour? Every time you talk to him, he charges you. And the last thing is, I just read the paper. I just got home by work in New Haven. I just read the paper, and we got 11 guys ready to go. Well, I know my brother, I was a volunteer years ago. You had to go to Hartford, you had to go to the fire school, you had to be trained with Scott Air Packs, you got to have this, you got to have that. Where are these guys? So that's just my questions. Like I say, I don't want to make anybody mad, but I was involved in budgets for 8 years on the RTM, and this just does not make sense when a district is in default in 1 year. It's poor management to me.
I gotta say, I can't, Dick Monchero, 7 Spyglass Circle.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Dick Monchero, Richard Monchero. I cannot believe the arrogance of some of you people on this board. President Ackley, the last meeting you addressed these people, the taxpayers, as your meeting was the board meeting. No, we are the district. You just represent us. And I'm sick and tired. And let me tell you what else happened. Nikki made a statement, and your brother thought it was freaking funny. Hilarious, isn't it? This is serious crap. People could die because of your decisions, and you don't care. You laugh. It's funny, isn't it? You make me sick.
Thank you for your comment.
You're welcome.
Any other comment? Yes, sir.
Joseph Simpson, 305 Michelle Lane, apartment 309, Groton. I'm in the district. I've been to a few of these meetings, the election, and I don't understand why this continues on like this, how you're running this fire district. You're literally...
We had an excellent response from Poquonnock. The firemen were there within 2.5 minutes. We're a 30-year-old establishment, and if they hadn't been there, if it had taken 4 or 5 minutes, it probably would have gone through the attic, and we probably would have had 8 to 16 families out of their homes. As it was, we had 2 families out of their homes. We had a minimum of damage. I really think, I'm not going to call names, but I'm a professional volunteer. I volunteer for the community. I have for 40 years. I have never seen a group I least understand. If you really are concerned with public and community safety, you need to rethink what is going on. I don't call names, and I don't care if you get angry at me. I've heard it all from a group of people, and that isn't my problem. But where is all the money gone that we've contributed? Has there been an audit? What are we missing in this whole scenario? What is the hidden agenda? Bankruptcy is not the answer. I live on Social Security, but the firemen don't have Social Security. All they have is their pensions. I don't know who negotiated a 10-year contract, but I know these guys would be reasonable if we were. They're not bad guys. They do a hard job. It's easy when there isn't a fire or a problem. Like I said, I don't know you individually. I know your reputations. I know you have a lot of relatives. I know that this whole process, I've never seen anything like it, and I've been on several boards. I don't know what the answer is, gentlemen, but this didn't happen overnight. You're responsible. Our money's up front. We had to pay it in July, and I was willing to pay more on a very limited income. And you that have plenty of property, I don't know what you think about all this, but maybe you'd like to tell us. If I can afford to pay it on a limited retirement, people with money ought to be able to afford it. Like I said, I back these firefighters 100%. I back volunteers too. But it takes time. And they don't replace paid staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick question for you. I know how grants work. You guys got a grant for a chief's vehicle, right?
What?
Yes, no?
We don't have to respond.
Okay, that's fine. You guys got a grant for a chief's vehicle. I know the district had to lay out money for a chief's vehicle, but yet you guys are talking about bankruptcy. Now you guys got to install lights and everything. What's wrong with the old chief's vehicle? There's nothing wrong with it. It barely moves.
Speak up.
That included 4 structure fires. For apparatus, the city of New Haven is selling a 1996 195-foot tower ladder truck similar to our car ladder for approximately $35,000. Does not have a pump. While this may address a short-term need, we do not have the appropriate for firefighters and staff. If such apparatus is acquired,
I can't hear you.
If such apparatus is acquired, it could be staffed using callback firefighters. Staffing engines with these free firefighters is much more efficient and safe practice, and to spread the staffing out of different pieces of equipment. The work performed by the engine crews is a higher priority than
Nobody can hear you.
the work performed by engine managing crews is a higher priority than to limit our capability by staffing the ladder just to get it to the scene. The Long Hill Station Eagle Scout project, months ago we made an arrangement with a Boy Scout seeking to perform an Eagle Scout project. The plan involves a landscaping project along the station to address some lingering issues on the grounds. We plan to appropriate approximately $1,000 in materials towards the project. However, with a severely reduced budget, this is not feasible. We would like to continue with the project with a limited scope of $500. I feel that it's important to continue with the commitment that we made to the Scout. Unless the board directs otherwise, I plan to proceed with the limited project. The 2012 Assistance to Firefighter Grant request, we received notice from FEMA that we denied our grant request for thermal imaging cameras. Thermal imaging cameras. We had another thermal imaging camera fail. This made 2 out of 3 cameras out of service. As repairs to the cameras are no longer supported by the manufacturer, the firefighters took parts from the 2 broken cameras and made 1 good camera. Following the repair, we have 2 operational cameras in service. And then finally, firefighter Thomas Ellis retired on July 31st. Transfer is pending to fill the vacancy of this year. Respectfully submitted by.
Thank you.
Included launching and safe operating techniques for the Poquonnock Bridge boat in rescue of victims in the water. Members also trained on the use of fireground ladders, and we did that during nighttime operations, which was partially required by our insurance. Officers and acting officers reviewed the incident command system and applied it to a scenario in 1- and 2-family dwellings. Under apparatus, engine 32 went to shipments for problems, and that should read 2 relays. Right. Under buildings, we had a generator technician come into the Long Hill Station in order to investigate why upon startup the generator is tripping the gas detector and giving high CO readings in the basement. Upon inspection, he did not find anything wrong with the generator. He did some service to it, but found that with the exception that there might be an issue with possible blockage to the fresh air intakes. I went down there, I cleared the brush from around the intake, and we haven't had the experience, to my knowledge, since. The base radio from the Fort Hill Station went into a fail mode and had to be sent out to radio repair. Respectfully submitted for report.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's Saturday. Can't come out, time and a half. They said, well, you know, we need to come out. Well, it's time and a half, sorry. So they came out, sorry, we can't do anything, and they left. And it was $350.
I will call Jonathan Dunkley personally. He does some work for me at the Vineyard in Stonington, and discuss that with him. And when did they fix it, on Monday?
Monday.
Actually, Tuesday.
Tuesday. But I just find, you know, we paid $20,000, and the next day it wasn't working, and they said they couldn't come out because it was a weekend.
I can expound on that a little bit. They actually, I was off, and he called and stated that they wouldn't come out without approval, that it was time and a half. And to which I said that we had just spent the $20,000 on a brand new installation. I would expect them to be professional and stand up for their work. To which he said, well, that's the way it is. We come out, it's time and a half. And at that point, we needed to have them come in. I felt, my understanding of the conversation was that he said that he would send his technician out, to which we got charged for.
What, do you have one guy or two?
I wasn't there, but I believe there was at least, obviously, at least one guy.
And they still couldn't fix, I mean, they didn't do
nothing-
anything.
There must have been a part issue with me or something.
Yeah.
I believe it was.
That they didn't have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just so the public knows that we, the board, doesn't get accused of picking the wrong guy, that was the only guy that did on the job. So we were.
Now the other thing is if you recall on that, there is a rebate, a municipal clean air energy rebate.
Right.
When I talked to him, I think 3 days ago, It was in a pile on his desk, and he was pretty nonchalant about entering that in.
I'll talk to him about that.
So we do have an invoice for about $1,000 now.
There's
from
one for
them.
$750 in there. That was for work that was, legitimately
From
done.
the original
It was
job.
an
Yes.
additional. They had to build a foundation for the new
Oh,
AC
because
unit.
it was rotted underneath.
No, because we went with a high efficiency energy unit, and it didn't fit on the same coffer dam. So we had to change that out.
But he's holding up the rebate and he's holding us
Yeah,
hostage.
yeah, my suggestion is that we hold up the payment until
Yeah,
we do.
and I will talk to him about that, because he actually had called me wanting to get paid for the second half of the unit, and I said, I'll look into it.
And
then
the
he
check
called me
was
back.
in the mail and
Then
was
he-
found
the check-
on his
The check
desk.
was found on his desk.
Yeah, no, he called me back and told me that. So, I know him from some other business transactions, so I will look into it, and before we have our next meeting, I'll try and get some results from him, even if I stop up in person and see him.
Because it was unfinished, I don't know.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
If he's not here, no report is given at all, does someone else not give the report?
Correct.
And that would be why?
He doesn't give a report.
He does, well, but he gives this, he doesn't discuss the,
Yeah.
yeah,
Bills.
no?
No, at
Okay.
the end, we'll just authorize the payment of the
Okay.
bills, but he doesn't actually give a specific
Okay,
report.
the one thing I do want to ask is that the last time we met, or not the last time, but the time before, at our last regular meeting, I asked if we could have the balance.
Yep, they're there. It's there.
Is it?
Last page.
Okay. Oh, okay, I wasn't sure. Okay. So that, would it be the reserve, or would it be?
No, it's the payroll and payables. That's our balance.
And the obligation fund? That's
The
not-
obligation fund is something we pay previous volunteers, like the type of pension, that's
Okay.
an obligation. And the reserve fund is for apparatus.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
And specifically, when we vote at the annual meeting to put money in the reserve fund, that's what it is specifically for. We can't use that for anything else.
Okay. So that's earmarked for, okay.
Staged action prevents you from using from anything but capital equipment.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any comment on unfinished business, alarm maintenance?
Well, Deb asked us to hold off on that, I thought, until we decided what we were going to do on the kind of entire budget. But, Todd, you're not sending any personnel unless there's a breakdown.
Right, it's just strict. Well, there's two reasons they might go out. Actually, three. One is we have legal obligation for call before you dig markings. So if we get those, they have to check those. Secondly, if the system goes down, they have to go out and fix it because there's still businesses relying on it. And the third one is we still have an arrangement with Old Mystic and Knowing, and they do direct reimbursements.
Yeah, but we're not out paying fireboxes and stuff like that at this point.
Okay. Have we gotten contractor bids on the decommissioning?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Because we're, Randy, didn't you check with somebody in the city?
Wires can be cut off at the ground, not dug up.
That's what they told you down there?
Yep.
So,
There's a lot of dead wires on the ground as it is, until at least cut them and leave them.
so it's the wires on the pole?
Yeah.
Is that like a state mandate, or?
I was talking to us, that's what they told me.
Right, utilities?
Yeah.
Does the state fire marshal have any specific requirements as to the dismantling or disabling? I mean, do we know whether or not there's any? It's not regulated, okay.
Not by them. It's,
Okay.
we fall under various public utilities regulations.
The DUP, would it be the state DUP?
That's where they're called before you dig regulation.
Oh, okay, okay.
I
Okay, so they can just be cut off at the ground?
Yes.
They have to be removed from the pole, but the ones in the ground.
Can just be cut off the ground?
And did they also tell you, Randy, that they would take care of all of the stoplights for the light changes on
Yep.
the fire trucks?
They'd adjust the lights when your trucks go by, the light on top, or service center.
Yeah.
Utilities?
I guess we'll probably need that in writing, but if we get that in writing, eventually, I mean, and we do away with the fire alarms, we're certainly not going to need the bucket truck.
Will they charge for that, for utilities? I mean, I would imagine they're going to charge for it.
I can find out.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think we should
We
find
pay
out
for
what
that now,
they're going to charge.
public lights.
But it's still a lot cheaper.
I also had a question, and this was something that was raised that I don't know if anyone on the board has considered, but when it comes to the alarm maintenance, would it be possible to look into actually leaving the alarm boxes in place and charging the businesses for, for maintenance, and that way generate revenue? We might be able to even turn it into a paying proposition.
What about all the boxes on the telephone poles? Is that
There's 180 of them, Todd, is
just
it?
on
On
the
poles,
Yeah.
how many are actually linked to businesses?
There's not that many, I don't think, that are linked to businesses that are on the poles of it. Yeah, and the other thing,
I think there's like 200 street boxes.
yeah.
Because
and
what I'm
the electric
thinking-
bill on all the lights on them.
Well, what I'm thinking is, let's just take, or for instance, ABC Distribution Corporation has a box, okay? And if the fire alarm box is done away with, it's going to cost them, let's say, $50 a month in insurance or something, Or the alarm, the burglar alarm.
Most of these businesses already have burglar alarm, other types of alarms already in place. So all they do is add the fire alarm to that
But
alarm.
wouldn't it cost extra?
No.
It doesn't cost anything extra at all?
Well, I priced that stuff all out from the alarm companies. And the alarm companies that I talked with basically said, like, if you do where the post office is, they're going to put one alarm in there, and it's going to cost Mall Incorporated, who owns the shopping center, for that alarm. And then they're going to feed off of that one alarm all of the stores, and they'll know exactly what store the fire is. And the price is like $20 a month or something. It's the price I got. And that's going to cover all the buildings. And, you might have to have, you could have one phone line and one cellular line. There's a lot of ways you can do it. But I did the research, and if you want, after the meeting, I can show you some of the numbers that I got. And I talked to the chief at East Line, or Niantic, McDonald, his name was. They just took it out 3 or 4 years ago. It's just, we're at a point where we got to just take this and cut what we can cut and relieve. And it's a good idea if we could make money on it. But if you break even on it now, it still may cost you more long-term than the long-term benefits and everything that you're paying for that firefighter to do the maintenance.
Well, I certainly understand the long-term solution, et cetera, but as I stated at our July 11th meeting, I read, I think it was in the paper, where someone mentioned that it would be a $40,000 savings by closing the forecast station. Is that an annual savings? And if it is, what does it consist of?
Todd may have that number. Right.
And
I agree, we wouldn't do that without.
yeah, and for the record, I'm not in favor of it, but I know I stand alone on that, I think, so.
The roof, to my knowledge, is not currently,
Well, it's just old.
nobody can remember it ever being replaced. So we're estimating it's over 30 years.
I'm surprised that the insurance hasn't come in and mandated, because I know it does on residences. It's 25 years, I think, is the limit. And then they'll cancel your insurance if you don't replace the roof. So I'm surprised that the insurance hasn't stepped in.
What kind of burden of recently we had some gutter work, and they couldn't fasten the gutters to the roof because stop what you have to stop.
You should have fixed it.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on the,
Should we get a, have them look at the roof? Do you think it was a price on review at all, or?
A couple of years ago, we got some quotes on doing that. That's kind of how we come up with that figure.
Okay, that's what the budget price was.
yeah, so a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the department.
This, I don't think this is the proper place, but is there ever anywhere in the agenda where you could bring up other business?
Old business?
If you want to bring up business not on the agenda, you have to suspend rules and add an item.
I hate suspending rules.
That's why I.
Do it, Deb, come on.
People, no. I'll tell you, people get antsy when you start suspending the rules and it's not something that's, on a printed agenda that they can look at, so.
Well, if there's something in hand,
I'd rather hear.
Next week, next month's meeting, you can.
Well, I'm concerned that it might be beyond.
Run the rules, go. Right to do that.
All right. Sorry, I know people hate for you to suspend the rules, but this is a question I want to ask.
I have to make a motion to suspend rules to
Need to
add
make a motion
okay, such and such.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to add a discussion about the status of the attorney that we were going to contact in the meeting, and we informed the public that we were going to seek legal. And I'm just wondering the status of that, where it stands.
Well, unfortunately, Peter is the point man on that. Peter will be here. Well, we'll probably be having a meeting before the next monthly meeting. We'll probably be calling a special meeting. We may know as early as next week as to what their recommendations are. The name of the company is Chance, Ruttenberg, and Friedman out of Providence. They're the same people who are.
Repeat that.
I'm sorry. Chance, C-H-A-N-C-E, Ruttenberg, and Friedman. They're the same people who are representing the bankruptcy in Central Coventry, Rhode Island.
How much an hour?
They're now providing information to us on pro bono status.
Are they, can they practice in the state of Connecticut? Okay. And
So, rather than me commenting on that, I'd rather have Peter do that.
Okay.
So I've not been the one that's in contact with them.
Okay.
Our lawyers, Ian Carberry, Tobin Carberry, they're in concert with that group, so all of our data and information has been given to them. They worked on it last week, and they'll be working on it next week, and we should be very soon hearing from them.
Okay, and if there's a report, is that what the special meeting is going to be about?
Well, what I assume is that they'll be telling us what we can and can't do with having a budget less than what the contract needs to pay for the contract. So until we find out from them, it's really hard to proceed.
Okay, well, and Peter probably is the one that knows, but I'm just wondering whether or not they're also exploring, or not exploring, because I know they can't tell us what to do, but there are options other than insolvency/bankruptcy.
Oh, I'm sure they'll be getting the option.
So I just want to make sure that they're aware of the fact that we can go back for a supplemental,
I'm sure they will. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
they'll give us all the options.
they're getting the full picture. Okay.
Got a question?
Okay.
It's on this expense, right? Is it under the good of the department?
Oh, go to the department.
Go ahead, Mark.
I know we're looking at a budget, we don't even have enough to pay anything. How much do these guys cost now? If they're doing a place up there in Rhode Island, it's gotta be astronomical.
They're not costing us anything right now.
Because you haven't gotten the bill.
No, because they're doing it pro bono. You said you're not pro bono. Not costing us anything yet. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Their service is long. All right? Okay. Presentation and payment of bills.
Yeah, can I go back to the department?
Go ahead.
You know, everybody out here has got just a little piece of the story to tell. And if you're sitting up here, you kind of know the whole story. You know, how the 10-year contract got put in, not by anybody on this board.
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. To you people, it doesn't matter. Right? But yeah, Nancy was on the board and voted no. It wasn't put in by anybody on the board. It was put in by a paramedic and a firefighter.
That was on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't say they weren't on this board, but they weren't on this board. They weren't on this board. And it seems that no matter what the board tries to cut, everybody hoots and hollers. Everybody wants everything. I drove from the Long Hill station to the Fort Hill station today at 4 o'clock in traffic, and I didn't hit a red light, in 3 minutes and 15 seconds. It's 1.6 miles. The response time at 45 miles an hour would be about 2.5 minutes longer. Anytime you want to cut something, it's always public safety. We're up here with our hands tied. We've got a number that we've got to work with, and this is what we're working with. And everybody here is picking it apart. Nikki, you get up there on a $200,000 house where you live, you pay $300 in tax and get your garbage picked up. The people in Poquonnock Bridge are not getting any garbage picked up and are paying twice that on a $100,000 house. So something has to be done. It's not a fair system. And the reason it's not a fair system is because of all these districts and the way it's spread out. And maybe, Nikki, you ought to talk to your boss and say, why don't we go to the town and get them some money and help them out down there in that district? They got the only paying district. You know? I mean, everybody comes in with all the great ideas, but nobody's sitting doing the work. Nobody knows what it costs for that box, that you're paying $3,000 for the lights on the box, and nobody cares. And it's the same people at this meeting. And I'll tell you, when I look at it, it's like 20 people, 30 people that ain't happy. When I talk to people out there, they're happy to have their taxes cut. They want a reduction in taxes. They're not eating, people. You know, it's not a good economy. And we ain't out here to make and judge what is right, what is wrong. We're here to work with the budget we've got right now and try and make long-term it work. And it's never going to work. We put an olive branch out to the union. They don't want nothing to do with us.
Ron, I'm going to stop you right there. I got to go home, but I'm going to tell you right now, this just didn't happen this year. This happened over the past 10 years since Peter Legnos and Alan Ackley and everybody's been in here. We haven't raised the taxes a little bit each year. You didn't go up a little bit, a little bit. You went up all at once, and then you said everybody got scared, and they said no. And you just can't do that.
Why?
You know, and then now you're going to sit there and you don't want us to hear it. You want to explain to us what your feelings are. And I understand, and I listened to Marco Finger, I was on the budgets with him and everything. You listen to both sides, okay? But this failure did not come this year. This failure, like I said before, has come with the past 10 years. It's been down, down, down. I remember being in a meeting where they told them, you gotta watch the paper cups, you gotta watch the toilet paper, you gotta watch the paper towels. Okay, and I was at that meeting. Okay, that's when it all started. And it's just been going down, down, down. Nobody has kept up. Nobody has gone up on the taxes little by little, so nobody felt the big crunch. All right? And now you're gonna sit there, you wanna close everything. Well, if my house catches on fire and the fire trucks ain't there, every one of you are responsible, all right? You're ridiculous. What you guys are doing. Pro bono. The guy's gonna hand you a $200,000 bill at the end.
Excuse me,
since I